Aparna Bijapurkar, MD and partner at BCG, where I lead a lot of our work on agriculture, food systems, and rural livelihoods. We're very excited to launch the Harvesting Tomorrow videocast series in partnership with ThinkAg as a follow-up to the ThinkAg Summit. The point of this is that a ton of great ideas get generated at events like this, but often momentum to follow through on them dies out. So we really wanted to keep the conversation going and build a coalition of the willing, so to speak, to take some of these forward. Our topic for today is building Agri-Security, insurance innovations for a changing landscape. And I'm really privileged to have in conversation with me two fantastic industry giants. Priya Kumar, who is EVP and business head at SBI General Insurance, with over 20 years of experience in the insurance sector. And Hemendra Mathur, who needs no introduction, but is the co-founder of ThinkAg and also venture partner at the Bharat Innovation Fund. Hi, Priya. Hi, Hemendra.
Hi, Aparna.
Hi, Aparna.
Thanks so much, for joining me today. For context, what I understand is that India runs the world's largest crop insurance program, yet we have less than 30% of our farmers insured today. And there continue to be a lot of challenges that we hear about, whether it's around awareness, adoption, speed of claims processing, and also fairly low levels of tech penetration in the sector. And especially in the face of climate change, I think globally we're seeing a lot of innovation. So what I really wanted to talk about today is what's happening in India, where are we versus the rest of the world, and what is the path forward?
Thanks, Aparna. I just want to add here that if you look at the agri-startup innovation ecosystem, which has kind of developed over the last 15 to 20 years, we have over 3,000 agri-startups which have crossed POC stage. But if I look at startups which are working purely on agri-insurance, the number is still very small, right? And there are reasons for it. And I'm hopeful that we can sort of develop the ecosystem further. Thankfully, there are some positive developments. First and foremost, the access to data is improving quite a bit, especially the data coming from satellite imagery, data coming from weather stations, data coming from IoT devices, which is making it possible to develop tools which can use this data for underwriting. Secondly, which is also very important, the digital access to farmers is going up significantly. And it is not just startups who are building apps to build farmer access. A lot of agri-businesses, large industry players, I think everyone is building a digital channel to converse with the farmers. And over and above that, I also see government becoming very active, especially with the launch of Agri-Stack, which is going to be implemented over the next few years. It is possible to reach out to each and every farmer and build very customized, tailor-made insurance products for them. And that's where I see there's a huge opportunity for all the ecosystem players, including insurance companies, startups, policymakers to come together and drive insurtech penetration in agriculture.
I think, like you said, there's a huge amount of opportunity. But before we, get into how much opportunity there is, I wanted to take a bit of a step back. Priya, tell us a little bit about the landscape of insurance in agriculture and allied sectors. A lot of people may not know.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think landscape about agriculture has evolved over the last 3 decades or so. Gaining traction from the 70s onwards when you spoke about the crop insurance in India when you started off. So when we actually went way back in the 70s, when we started off, we actually started as a country by just paying for losses if the calamity happened. It was more a claim payout scheme. Liabilities were not defined. Budgets used to go haywire. Government could never plan. As these schemes evolved, as years went by, a lot of planning came into the fray. And with a lot of international agencies coming across and supporting these projects, a lot of learning came into India. Technology started coming into India. And when we moved towards 2015-16 is when the actual seeds were sown for the National Crop Insurance Program, which is currently run as Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So I would now say that we have completed almost a decade of that scheme. So let's say 2014-15 when pilots started happening to now. But there are 3 phases of this scheme. the first 3 years would evolve around more setting up the backbone. What that backbone was, very rightly, Hemendra spoke about a lot of data which was required to underwrite the product. So there was a struggle in terms of what kind of data could be used, how could this underwriting happen, and how do we land up filling the gaps when we underwrite a product? Because we were still talking about an area approach. We were not yet there at the farm level. As data evolved, we, as an industry, we started cleaning up, refining the data. The portal came in. That was the first real revolution in terms of digitization that happened in the crop insurance space. When the government of India took the initiative of collating all state level data, putting it on a national crop insurance portal, which all stakeholders could access. So the banks, the state governments, the insurance companies, or anybody who wanted to see how the scheme was running could access this information. Then came the next shift when this data started really churning out results. That is when the need for now going and catering to multi-risk solutions for the farmers started coming into fray. And that's when conceptualization, that is sometime 2018-19, started happening, where pilots started yielding results. We were actually able to go out at the grassroots level and check farm level losses. So that was the second phase. And today we are in a phase where we could actually start using weather data for a lot of predictive analysis. We have technology like winds, we have yes tech, all these things now functioning in a very smooth manner, wherein you could actually assess the loss of a homogeneous crop today, right at the farm level. I think this is a huge transition that we as a country have really experienced in the last 8 to 9 years. And from here on, this scale up for us is not going to be a challenge, because we've really completed that first batch of the challenge of managing data at a micro level. The second part, which is very important, is we started using, of course, the fertilizer industry used to use technology in terms of drones for spraying and other activities. And when insurance companies imbibed that technology, and we could actually start surveying plots at a grassroots level. So if a plot was inundated, you could actually fly a drone there and really check the impact or the loss that the farmer has suffered. So this is something that we feel now in terms of insurance, really crop insurance has evolved. You could compare it to a motor insurance product wherein you can actually drill down to what kind of loss has been suffered, what is the period, let's say the field has been inundated, and so on and so forth. So we are talking a huge shift in terms of how technology has played a vital role in crop insurance evolving.
It sounds like we're at a tipping point now where we have a lot of, data available to drive innovation, new technologies for the insurance value chain. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of innovation we can expect to see in the future?
Yes, the next level would be to try to take these products at a farm level, at an individual farmer level. Like I said, the scheme currently was more an area-based scheme. The assessments on the claims happen at a farm level. However, the product is still currently sold as a massive scheme wherein the farmer pays a small amount and enrolls himself, and the balance is subsidized by the state and the central government bodies. So if we really need to deliver value now at a micro level, while yes, the scheme caters to a lot of crops, there are still many crops which are left unattended, uncovered, because the area would probably be much lesser for the government to consider it as an area approach. A lot of horticulture crops, many of the fruits, vegetables, a lot of these crops are still uncovered. So I think next would be to try to see how these simple off-the-shelf solutions can be provided to the farmers, and these farmers can really buy the product as for a seasonal requirement or maybe on an annual basis depending on the tenure of the crop. So I spoke about parametric insurance. This is really evolving as a frontline solution for a lot of crops. Normally, need to survey a crop on field to be able to ascertain what is the actual loss that we see at the grassroots level. But in case these indexes can be underwritten over a span of 20, 30 years of data, I think that would solve the problem for the farmer, given that the recent climate changes are also giving you some amount of predictability in terms of how your indexes can evolve. There was a recent product which was launched on heat wave. We as an insurance company also covered the state of Nagaland as a parametric trigger based product. So these are new concepts which are definitely evolving in the country, and the success for these products would be if we can underwrite now at the grassroots level, at a farmer level, and offer these products. So I think that would be the second level innovation. Of course, what is important is also a lot of digital capabilities to be able to track the performance of these products on an ongoing basis. I think these two things would really pave the way.
Yes, Priya, I think it is great to talk about parametric insurance. I see a huge opportunity. And, as I mentioned that, especially with respect to weather, the ability to connect weather data at a granular level is going to go up. The government of India is setting up weather station almost at every block of the country. So hopefully that enables a lot of weather index products for farmers. But tell us, what are the other parameters on which we can do indexing? Weather, we all know, probably one of the biggest challenge that we see for Indian farmers is weather-related challenges, be it floods, be it temperature, be it humidity. So how do you see, what are the possibilities in index-based insurance? What are the innovations which have probably happened in other parts of the world or in other sectors which we can learn from when we're developing these parametric insurance products?
So I think definitely one more aspect that we as a country have been struggling for some time is the actual impact on revenue that the farmer faces. So we have been debating about this for quite some time in terms of how to quantify the actual loss in terms of revenue for the farmer. So as a country, we cannot offer any revenue based product till now. However, I think if we are able to collate a lot of data which is available through the mandis and through some commodity-based platforms. Now here, what is important is also how tech players or how larger commodity-based players, agri-tech platforms, we can actually leverage that data and try to see how we can probably index that as well and create a product. So when we are at a zero situation right now, from zero to at least taking care of maybe 30, 40% or 50% of whatever losses the farmer pays, I think that's a very important step going forward in terms of structuring a solution. The next aspect would be on the dairy side. This is one more area which we are struggling with as an industry. Traditionally, we've been tagging animals. The delay in terms of inspection of the carcass leads to the farmer actually going out of his daily schedule or his daily earning mechanism. So that is one more area. I think if we can solve that problem by way of indexing some solutions, then these two products should really be making a difference at the grassroots level.
Right, so I think you talked about revenue protection for farmer. I think that is extremely critical, given the fact that most of the farmers end up spending at least 3-4 months in a crop cycle and lots of money on the inputs and still unsure of the revenue that they're going to get, which could be a function of the yield, which could be a function of the pricing of commodities. So we need a lot of data points on this. And that leads to my next question. If you look at the whole startup community, we have some brilliant data scientists. We have some fantastic hardware guys, who know how to collect data, how to build interesting algorithms to drive decision making. But they don't understand insurance. They don't understand underwriting, right? And then on other side, we have insurance players who have been doing it for decades. And of course, they know the industry, they know the domain, they know the regulations. So how do we, break these silos between the innovators and the large insurance players like yours? How we can bring them together so that we can accelerate the process of these innovative products, be it parametric insurance or cattle insurance you talked about. How do we make it happen? One example which I can think of is this: in the Yes Tech project, Government of India and startups partnered to develop interesting models for yield estimation for crops when this whole scheme was launched. So that's one precedence that I know, but love to hear your thoughts on how we can collaborate better as an ecosystem so that, we can build some very interesting products for our farmers.
Right. Very, very rightly said. Because so when you talk about collaboration, currently even in the crop insurance space, like I said, when the portal was built, it was important for all stakeholders to collaborate. So here, the banking fraternity is a very, very key stakeholder. They are already working with a lot of startups on various other projects. So banks are looking at how they can take their agri financing to the next level, collaborating with FPOs on some real innovative product solutions. They are also trying to see how they can extend or probably use services of smaller NBFCs to really reach the last mile in terms of offering credit to the farmers. I think that is a very key partner in the entire value chain, because the banks really have a lot of information which is directly sourced information from the FPO community or the farmers. This information is very critical. The second part you spoke about, the tech partners and the startups and brilliant talent which is available. Yes. Um, However, what we are facing as a challenge is how do we kind of put all this data into one funnel, and how do we kind of look at this data in terms of how it would help us for pricing. So let's say if I give you one example of a district which has improved penetration in a certain crop, soil type conditions have changed, agroclimatic zones leading to a lot of change in the cropping cycle, or in the crop itself being changed, for example. Now, we as an insurance company, we are sitting at a layer which is right at the last level. Okay, so first comes the farmer who goes to the financier. Next comes the farmer who actually takes his inputs from the seed, from the fertilizer industry. So that's the second level of connect. The third level of connect is the advisory services. Now, this is where the tech guys can really come in and play a huge role in terms of how the risk management process can actually happen on insurance. So if we can just embed all these tech players, all these 3, 4 players onto one platform, that is when we are actually talking solution to a farmer. Just like a banker would probably, today, if you log into an app, a simple thing like a mobile app, the banker is able to provide you a lot of services there. So I think insurance companies are moving in that direction. Most companies have developed their own mobile application. Farmers today know if they have to reach out to an insurance company, they know exactly how to reach out to a company by way of mobile application. So about 10 years ago, this was not a possibility. This was a huge grievance area. So I think we are at a very good time with the collaboration of all these stakeholders. We can definitely turn something into a reality. And we should do that. We should pick up some progressive districts. We should look at some crops in those selected districts. And then all stakeholders come together and design a holistic solution. I think that's the way forward.
No, I think that makes, a lot of sense, Priya. And I guess the point that we're at is we have Vistar coming where we'll have a lot of data. Collaboration is definitely key across various parts of the agri value chain to be able to bridge the gap, not just on insurance, but also credit, transition to different crop diversification patterns. One of the things that we haven't really covered so much is the demand side. From a farmer point of view, I understand that historically we've grouped insurance with Kisan credit card. Some of that has changed as well. So how do we see farmer adoption? Is there anything more we need to be able to do to build awareness and generate demand for crop insurance?
Yes, certainly. In crop insurance, the government of India has really put in a lot of effort within the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana scope. There's actually a budget which is earmarked for conducting a lot of grassroots level activities. And this is almost like a scorecard. So insurance companies are really tracked in terms of how they are delivering these services to the farmers, as well as how the policy eventually is delivered to the farmer. How is the claim dissemination done at the farmer level? As well as eventually how does it really stack up in terms of the end result on the scoreboard. So these are areas which are extremely important, and it's an ongoing activity that happens monitored at the policy level. What is extremely important, you spoke about Bima Vistar, very right point of time where the regulator has actually come out with such an innovative product, looking at the life risk, considering the interim hospitalization risk as well as the property side of it. And when we talk innovation, now this is where innovation has really come in, wherein the property section has been parameterized. We have been able to set that at an index level. So we are actually saying that a customer does not have to intimate their claim. They just have to, look at the triggers. If the triggers have breached, let's say if it's a flood, if the flood trigger has breached over a certain limit, the payout would be automatically made. So this is where innovation has really started coming in. So is there a need at the grassroots level? I would think definitely. But what is extremely important is how this awareness, how this dissemination is happening. So crop insurance today is a large part of the industry premium. It is driven, it used to be something like 3 to 4,000 crores way back in 2015. But today we are talking about a 30,000 crore premium. While it's an important product line, it's also taken a lot of time. It's created employment for a lot of people. It's created new distribution platforms for people. So you have brokers, you have surveyors. It's created a huge plethora of services that has opened up. If that needs to be emulated, what is extremely important is that on the regulatory side, we have been debating this with the regulator. We have been putting it forward as a request as well, that there has to be information dissemination about insurance per se, which needs to go out at the grassroots level. That is when people really realize what is the kind of risk that they are facing. And that's when you can really talk product and you can really talk about, insurance. So this is just one aspect. The second thing extremely important in creating that demand is to make it really affordable and embedded. Like I had said earlier, when stakeholders get together, so when you have a financier, when you have a seed supplier, or in the case of maybe dairy, when you have, a large dairy farm, all these are platforms to really embed products and create solutions and offer it. That is where dissemination can also happen. So I think the need is certainly there at the grassroots level. You see, insurance per se is considered as more an expense rather than an investment. People do not really conceptualize with the part of risk. Post-COVID, it has started seeping into our country a little bit. But I think there's a lot to be done still in terms of creating that demand.
Thanks, Priya. Totally agree with you. It's not easy to sell insurance products to anyone, not just farmers. I think it takes time. You pay money with absolutely no return possibility. So we totally understand that. Having said that, I think we should also understand the nature of farmers' income, which is also changing over a period of time, right? As we understand from various studies and research report that the dependence on crop is slowly going down. I think about 30 to 40% of farmers' income is coming from crops, balance from livestock and so the other ancillary occupational opportunities that farmer has. But clearly, livestock is gaining more and more traction. 50% of India's farmer are into dairying. Interestingly, most of it is done by women farmers. We are seeing more and more farmers doing poultry. There are a lot of farmers which are into fisheries, which in a way is good because it helps farmers to diversify the income sources from multiple streams. But the big question is like for crops, we have a very pretty structured scheme, as you rightly mentioned, has become a 30,000 crore scheme over a period of time. What about livestock? We have 30 crore thousand buffaloes in the country, and what I understand that probably only 1 crore of those cattle is insured. Then, of course, the poultry industry is large, and so is fisheries. Do we have products for them, or it's time we should be thinking more about developing some really good products for livestock industry?
Yes, very rightly said that that's the next new horizon that is really looking up for the industry. So I would definitely want to say here that as an industry, we've not really been able to master the art of how to work around the agri side in terms of moving, live animals. Um, but on the livestock side, I can certainly say there has been a lot of initiative which have been taken. A lot of tech operators have come into this space. A lot of technology startups have come into this space, and we are now able to identify, like we spoke about the YesTech and the WINDS project on using satellite imagery on crop. Similar technologies have actually started really playing a crucial role in livestock as well. And this is really going to help us in terms of creating some customized solutions for this sector. See, what happens is on the retail side, so there is one part of the livestock business that is underwritten by the states. So there are scheme-based animals. The state go out and tender for that. So those are more price sensitive portfolios. But what is important is the larger part of it, which are the dairies, like you rightly said, just 1 crore animals, being covered. So the dairy side is more the structured farming solutions is what we need to look at, wherein you can really underwrite based on a lot of information that the client himself would be able to provide you. What is the breed of the animal? What is the climate conditions in which the animal is kept? What is the kind of feed? How much of dry? How much of fresh feed? The muscle technology, you can actually do a lot of muscle reading and tag the animal. You don't really have to put a physical tag on the animal. So a lot of information is now there to play around with and actually come down and look at underwriting this product. And I think we are in a stage where we can definitely achieve scale. What is, of course, going to be very helpful for the industry is in case the government can come out and support this scheme by way of technology and subsidy. So there are independent tech operators who are bringing in a lot of technology. It's expensive. Today, it's still expensive. So when we started using technology in crop about 7, 8 years ago, it was expensive. It's only now that data has actually come out at a slightly affordable level. You have a lot of free data which is available. New satellites have been launched. So we can look at some government support on this side. I think this is definitely the next area of products. You mentioned poultry, you mentioned fishery. The piggery industry, for example, is quite big in the northeast part of India, and there is a desperate need there for insurance as well. So these are pockets in which we can certainly structure solutions and offer it if technology is really able to support us.
Those are all great points. And like you said, we're going to need innovation across sectors and also for use cases, right? Some of it will be, for example, conception loss for artificial insemination. Some of it will be yield related in the context of heat stress. Some of it will be, different for, I think, aquaculture versus capture fishery. So there's a lot of opportunity, out there and a lot of potential. Priya, what I've, taken away, I think, from this conversation is we're sitting on a reasonable amount of data to be able to drive some of this innovation. In order to be able to both build the right product base as well as distribute it, we will need different parts of the ecosystem to come together. It's not just the insurers, but also, startups as well as banks, and that ecosystem needs to complete itself. I think the question that's on my mind is, I guess we're at a point where we know a lot of what needs to happen, but how will it happen going forward? And in that context, can you shed some light on, whether policy plays, any role in catalyzing some of the efforts of insurers, tech, and banks?
Well, certainly, that is going to be the key driving force. So while a lot of startups are getting various subsidies, the MSME industry is also playing a very crucial role out here, wherein a lot of these startups are getting licensed. And I would just like to kind of pause a bit here, going a little off track from agri. Now, if you look at a very small example like property insurance or insuring the dwellings, okay, a state like Maharashtra has actually come out with at a policy level, they've taken a decision wherein they have made insurance mandatory when you are going to register your property. For even if a builder wants to build a project, as when he goes for the RERA licensing, he has to ensure that insurance is there. When you go to pay your property tax, they ensure that you have insurance. You go to renew your shops and establishment license, you have to ensure you prove that you have insurance. So now this is a very progressive step that we are talking. If the policymakers understand the need and they support this drive, it can definitely change a lot. And the regulator has already done something in this direction, wherein they have asked insurance companies to adopt a lot of states. So we at SBI General, we are leading 2 states, one in Northeast and the other one in the northern part of India. So there, what we do is we actually feel that, a lot of initiatives in that state belong to us. You feel a sense of ownership that you really need to go and make a difference, even socially, for the cause of that state. So I think this is where we are talking collaboration with policymakers, and this kind of a collaboration has to really start. Probably it has started at motor insurance level, going down to dwellings and covering lives. It should also eventually go down to the agriculture side of it, and I'm quite hopeful and positive it will certainly happen, with states themselves taking that lead in that direction. At a central level, I think it's also important that subsidies are also channelized in the right way. So if the Ministry of Finance can actually get involved in this entire framework, like they have done in some of the other projects, it will certainly change the entire outlook of the next level products that agriculture is going to be able to roll out. So whatever we spoke about today, whether it's livestock, or you could even look at tea, coffee plantations, you could look at some of the crops which are uncovered, you could look at the fisheries, the poultry, I mean, there is a huge plethora of products that we can actually go out and deliver. What we need is, like I said, stakeholders to come together, and it's only the government which can actually play that role in bringing stakeholders together. The regulator, hats off to the insurance regulator, they are definitely at the driving wheel right now. They are actually going down to the grassroots level, collaborating with insurance companies, going down to the states and talking to the states, creating awareness at a high level at the state. So we are meeting the secretaries and driving this philosophy down. So I'm very positive that this is going to certainly make a lot of difference going forward.
Great. Thank you so much. I think after this conversation, I'm definitely optimistic. And I think a lot of people listening will be reaching out to collaborate, especially in the 2 states that you mentioned, but I'm sure much beyond. Thank you so much, Priya, for this incredible conversation. And we hope to keep, the discussion going. And I do expect that we will see a lot more innovation in terms of the spectrum of products, but also the nature of getting it to the farmers. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hemendra.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.